What's going on, everyone? It's been a while. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can dominate within Football Manager. This applies to every single iteration you can ever play as well, so don't think it just applies to FM24. There's going to be 5 key areas that I'm going to end up hitting on, all that I think are absolutely integral to any success that we end up having within the world of Football Manager, or that any manager has in reality. Those are tactics, set pieces, the player roles, the recruitment, as well as player development. So now I guess, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So we're going to start off in area number 1, tactics. Those are really what help us win games, but there are certain aspects to tactics that are why we are winning those games. One is, what type of tactic are you using? Are you trying to utilize something that is pretty overpowered, like a generic kind of 4-3-3 or something like my 4-3-3 Mando? Very good tactic, very good formation. Just like the 4-2-3-1, you'll see that quite a bit, not only if you're doing network saves, or if you are also playing against the AI, you will come up against those two formations quite often. Reason being is because they are pretty overpowered. So if that is what you're wanting to do, that is going to be a major reason as to why you have success, why you dominate. It's because you're using those more dominant type tactics. However, there's another route to go, and this is the one that I prefer doing, the asymmetric style, where you start playing the numbers game. So something like my 4-2-3-1 target practice, or even we got the 4-2-3-1 power of the orange, they don't look too dissimilar from each other. Obviously, you see that roles change, and the striker and attacking midfielder are now opposite on either one. But it allows us to win those numbers games when we need to. Now, when I talk about winning those numbers games, I'm talking about something like this. Utilizing a formation that allows you to win in certain areas. Make sure that you are dominating your opponent. So, as we see with the blue, that is the 4-3-3. The purple is set up in a 3-4-3. With that 3 in the back covering those 3 forwards, that essentially eliminates what they are able to do. You then outnumber them in the midfield, because it is essentially 4 right here versus 2. You outnumber them, you have way more flexibility and ability to create. Then you have 3v1 in the defensive midfield. Now, when you say win the ball up here with your defense, this 4 adds to this 3, and it is a 7v5 essentially, going the other way once you move the ball up to the midfield. You want to play a numbers game, and that definitely helps you dominate. So when it comes to your tactics, make sure you are either using something that might be a little overpowered, because it's going to help you dominate the game, obviously, or if you want to make it a little bit tougher on yourself, create something that allows you to play a numbers game, and you will have to kind of play on the fly to make sure that you are countering anything that your opponent is throwing at you. It's a lot more fun that way as well. So next up is set pieces. Now, set pieces, this is kind of the first year where it has changed big time. And really, you can do the exact same thing we've done in the past. And essentially what that is, when you're going to select the set pieces to set it up, you go hybrid, near post, balanced. Then you go near post, balanced, in swinger. And what that does is essentially creates the OP set pieces from years past. Or you can do what I do, and that's create my own, because as you can see here, defensively, the shape is completely different from the generic. And if we go to the attack, it is pretty different as well. Now, the reason why I personally suggest going about creating your own is because not everyone's going to want to play the exact same style with their set pieces. There's going to be some people that want to aim for the near post and set up like I do right here. And there's some people that are going to want to play the ball short, move it off to someone, and then whip the ball in. Because sides that do that a majority of the time have very creative players. So if that's something they're going for, definitely do it, because you're still going to be able to dominate by doing so. So don't think everyone has to aim for the near post. Everyone has to aim for a far post. Everyone has to go short. You can do whatever floats your boat and whatever you are trying to achieve and dominate in that manner. And I actually have an entire video dedicated to set pieces, so make sure to check it out down below in the description if you wish to do so. It delves into everything you need to know. So now that we went over those set pieces pretty quickly, we're going to get into player roles. Player roles are very unique. because a lot of them are highly customizable to do what exactly you want them to do. And also, they have way more influence on your tactic than you may think. Now I'm going to throw up the same 3 tactics that I have shown already. We've got the 4-3-3 Mando right here. We then have the 4-2-3-1 asymmetric target practice here. And then the 4-2-3-1 power of the orange. What did you notice about all 3? I'll give you 1 second to realize it. All 3 tactics have a lot of the same roles within them. Why do they? Because a lot of roles are very, very good to utilize. A lot of pairings between roles are very good to utilize as well. One of those pairings is pairing a playmaker type role with a ball winning midfielder. Majority of the time, it is a deep line playmaker or a segundo volante. They're absolutely fantastic together. And if you're playing a striker and a number 10, utilizing an advanced forward with a shadow striker is also very good. There are a lot of roles that allow you to dominate in different manners, especially dependent on what formation you are trying to utilize. Some of the roles that I suggest utilizing that really allow you to get the most out of your tactics are ones that are essentially fully customizable. Some of those roles are going to be like central midfielders, because as we can see here, I'm hovering over the central midfielder. You have defend, support, and attack duty. That light green that you see within the instructions, for those of you that may not know, that is what is already dedicated to that role. That kind of darker, brighter green, that is what you add to it. And as we see on support, there is absolutely nothing generically on there. So you can completely customize this midfield role to your liking. Another role you can do that with is the defensive midfielder. On defend, it does have some generic stuff added, but on support, once again, fully customizable. In defense, the best one would probably be the fullback. If you're trying to create exactly what you want, playing down the flanks out of your back line. Whether you put them on defense, support, or attack, some of them do come with generic stuff on it, but a majority of the time, if you go at one on support, it is going to basically be a clean slate to create whatever role you would like. And then for those roles that are out wide, it's most likely going to be the winger, either on support or attack. These have a little bit more generic things added to the role, but still you can customize them to whatever you want them to be, because instead of playing an inside forward or an inverted winger, you can essentially create the winger to do exactly what those roles do, while also incorporating what the winger role already does. And that is the power of understanding what roles allow you to do. Because, like I said earlier, roles can have way more of an impact on your tactic than you might think. You might be setting up in a 4-3-3 like this. However, if you ended up wanting to move them down and play from the midfield area, so they're playing out wide in the midfield area, you can have them essentially act like inside forwards once they get into the attacking area. And how you do that is what you put on the role. So instructions, essentially what you would end up doing, what an inside forward does. They cut inside with the ball. So you put on, cut inside with the ball. Yes, being a winger is going to instruct them to stay a little bit wider. However, by instructing them to cut inside with the ball, they're going to play much more like an inside forward than they would if you did not have it on. And just like with the set pieces, I have a video dedicated to roles that will also link down below in the description if you wish to check that out as well. Up next is probably the most important area to helping you dominate in Football Manager, and that is recruitment. Whether it's loans, free signings, or transfers, you need to make sure that you are doing and getting it right. When it comes to your recruitment, one of the more important things is making sure that you are recruiting for the right areas, not recruiting for the sake of bringing in players. There are a lot of clubs that do that now, and it hurts them in the long run, both player development wise as well as financially. So when you're going about your recruitment, you want to make sure that you are addressing those areas of need. That is your first and foremost thing that you need to worry about. If you see a wonder kid out there that you really want to bring in, cool. Definitely think about doing it, but make sure that you are addressing those key areas and issues first prior to bringing that player in. Now, some ways to help you kind of put a band-aid on a flesh wound for the time being are loans. Loans are a very interesting way about going about things, because say you're in the Premier League and you are a mid-table type club like Crystal Palace. how much will a loan truly help you get where you want to be? A full-time signing that is going to be there for continuous seasons is definitely going to help you over a one-season type loan that is kind of just going to help you get over the line at the end of the season, finish in mid-table, and then boom, bang, you're done. That's it. When you are doing loans, you want to make sure you are basically in two different situations. One, you are trying to get promoted into the top league or just promoted into whatever league is above you within your save. So if you are in Skybet League 1 and you're trying to get into the championship, that is a perfect scenario to make sure that you are loaning in a player to help you get to that next level. The other is vice versa. If you are in that top league, or if you are in a scenario in any league to where you potentially could face the drop and be relegated, you want to make sure that you have the players that can help you keep from doing so. So if you are relegation fodder or a lower table type side, you're going to want to make sure that you are bringing in some loans to help you survive, essentially. So with loans, essentially, if you are in mid-table or kind of in the big 6, big 7 within your league, you're not going to want to make loans because that's not really going to help you get to where you want to be. You want permanent signings in those scenarios. If you are trying to get promoted or avoid relegation, make sure that you are ensuring safety and survival. Those are those scenarios that you utilize loans. Now, when it comes to free signings, this is where it can really help you dominate within Football Manager, because free signings are, of course, free. And free is affordable because you don't have to pay a transfer fee. All you usually have to do is pay a signing on fee, and then as well as the salary, along with any bonuses that the player gets in their contract. So when it comes to those free signings, you once again want to make sure you are kind of addressing those holes. Remember how I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's that wonder kid that you really want to go after. You need a hefty bit of your transfer budget, there we go, to go after that wonder kid. An easier way to make that happen is addressing those needs through free signings. That's what I have done a boatload this year within my saves, and it has helped me get to where I want to be way, way quicker. And one key thing to remember with free signings, age doesn't really truly matter if that player can make an impact immediately within your side if you are a team that is trying to compete. If you're a team that's trying to compete, or once again, like with the loans, get promoted, those players are going to be making big time impacts and getting you to where you want to be. So when it comes to those free signings, basically the max age cap that I would potentially be signing someone on is between the ages of 32 and 33. Unless it is an absolutely world-class player within your save, maybe stretch it to 34. Other than that, make sure you are utilizing free signings because it can help you get to here instead of just getting to here. And finally, with transfers, you are going to want to make sure when you are doing those permanent transfers that those players are going to be game changers for you, either within their potential or within their current ability. Because if you can hit on both of those within players, you're once again going to be dominating in Football Manager. A perfect signing example is that of Mickey Van de Ven with Tottenham. In my save now, he is 29 years of age, and he is one of the best defenders within the Premier League. He is one of the best young defenders, or young-ish defenders, within the Premier League in reality as well. That is a signing that they made sure that they hit both on current ability as well as potential. Kind of think along those lines when you are making transfers. An example within a save that I currently have going on is that of Joao Neves. He was with me at my previous club. I knew, based on current ability, as well as potential, as he still is only 25 years of age, he has the potential to be a game changer. We already see that he is one, based on his attributes as well as world-class ability. So like I said, when it comes to permanent transfers, they need to be game changers. You get those game changers based on current ability or potential ability, and when it does pan out, because it does a majority of the time, you are going to be dominant within your leagues. So we're finally here at the last subject, and that is development. There are two different types of development that I'm going to be covering. The first one is kind of the generic type of development. So player that I'm going to be showing you guys here, Mr. Hebel Puyanto, or Puyanto. His name is very interesting to try and say. I ended up buying him from Vitesse over in the Netherlands. And when I brought him in, he was at 2.5-star current ability. I was currently at Lazio at that time, played in 33 games, and he developed quite a lot, as you can tell. He is now a 4-star current ability player, and I am at Bayern Munich now. Now, the reason why he was able to develop like that is because I played him in matches from the get-go. A majority of the time when you are developing your players, they're going to get a lot more development when you are playing them in matches. Whether they're in your U18s, your U21s, whatever it might be, if they're playing for you at your club, a majority of the time, they're going to be able to develop pretty well. However, keep in mind, once they're 18, sometimes even 17, one of the more important things is to loan them out to get first-team playing time. Being that he was at Vitesse, he was playing with them a majority of the time, but as we can see, he came into this save in 2025. He was there 4 or 5 seasons. He only played 40 matches. So they did that. Okay, let's have him play in our U18s, U21s, then our first team. And he still developed into a very good player. So do not be afraid if you see a very good youngster that you either want to go out and get or that comes through your youth intake. Feel free to start playing them in games. They're going to get a lot of development from it. But keep in mind, if you are bringing them on, say, late in a game, they need to come on before the 75th minute, or else they won't get an average match rating and they won't be able to go up in their development. That is a key thing to make sure that you are hitting on when you are trying to develop youngsters. Now we get to talk about the other style of development, which is something that I have been implementing a lot within Football Manager this year. It's something that I call strategic development. What exactly is strategic development? It is a risk-reward type of development. What do I mean by that? Essentially, you find a player with a boatload of potential. Well, we're going to use a real-world example. A player with a boatload of potential is kind of being wasted at a club that has world-class players in every single position, like a Manchester City. So that player that I'm talking about is Cole Palmer. Strategic development. You're able to allow him to develop with said club, with said players, and then move them on for a fee to a different club, and then they hit the ground running because they have been able to play it and train at such a high level compared to a lot of other players. And I had one of those players in this save. His name was Benoni de Bont. Probably the best player I've ever had in my life playing Football Manager. As we can see, he is a very good player. World class. I signed him when I was at Lazio from St. Truden. Then, at Lazio, I was playing him quite often, as we can see. 81 matches, scoring 49 goals. However, he wasn't always playing in the same position. This is where part of that strategic development comes into play. Cole Palmer can play in a boatload of positions. So can Benoni de Bont. He can play as a striker, he can play as a 10, he can play as a right wing. He is world class in all 3 positions. I tend to play him up front because he's absolutely incredible up front due to his goal scoring and playmaking ability. Now, when I notice, okay, I'm going to be moving, I need to consider bringing some players with me. Benoni de Bont was that number 1 player, and it's not because he is absolutely fantastic. It's because of strategic development. The reason why it was because of strategic development is that I had a couple players when I was at Lazio that were ready to be first-team strikers, and I knew, okay, if I take Benoni de Bont with me, I can still help Lazio out in the long run, not only by paying a hefty transfer fee for him, but also by allowing them to move him on and then be able to play some of these other strikers, such as Alione Drame. He's played a majority of the games since I ended up believing he is now their main guy up front. But notice once again, just like Benoni de Bont, I was playing him not only at striker, but as a 10 and as a right winger. So he can play in multiple areas. Another one is Ivan Neplatinov. He can play as a striker or at right wing. He's also played in a couple games since I left there, due, once again, to strategic development. Now you're probably sitting there like, awesome, these are great examples of what this can help me achieve. But how do I execute this method? Well, one, you're going to be bringing in players when you already have players that are kind of your mainstay in those positions to develop. But you do it strategically by allowing them to play in different areas of the team. So if you have this player coming in, you want to play them at striker. You play them at striker, but you also play them as a 10. You also play them out wide on right or the left wing. By doing that, that allows them to have some versatility. It allows them to grow their game and get some playing time. If you're doing it with a midfielder, you not only have them play centrally, you have them play in defense midfield as well as a number 10 as well. It is a strategic aspect to making sure that even if you bring them in to potentially be taking the spot of one of your older players, that older player is Kevin De Bruyne, and he's still good to go at least for another 2-3 years potentially, then you need to make sure that that player you bring in is versatile enough strategically to play in other areas until that player is ready to go. And an awesome thing about this method, if you end up bringing in these players, and say that player that you wanted to end up replacing actually just takes off and they're a little bit younger, not Kevin De Bruyne style age, they're a little bit younger, you just weren't feeling them, but they take off, that player you bring in, you can either kind of keep and do the strategic development, or while doing the strategic development, make sure that you end up selling them on for way more money because now they're way more versatile and way better. So there we have it. I hope these tips kind of help you guys dominate within your Football Manager saves going forward, not only through FM24, but FM25 and beyond. If there is anything that you want me to go in more depth on that I discussed in today's video, please feel free to let me know down below in the comments. And those videos I mentioned earlier that I have kind of in-depth videos on with set pieces as well as player roles, those will be linked down below in the description for you guys to check out. If you guys did happen to enjoy it, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribing is 100% free, so when I hit that sub button, it's good to be back, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until next time, have a good one. Bye-bye.